whole like bill in Florida and everything like that, don't you think that it kind of goes past that though, with like not allowing teachers to say even like certain words about like their own like sexuality and stuff like that? Like, don't you think that that kind of is like teachers are allowed to like should be allowed, I think, to like just say this is my life and this is who I am?
Nope. It has nothing to do with the classroom.
I feel like we should still be talking about how to have safe sex.
You can do that,
Yeah.
parent the child, not public school teacher to a classroom of 30 students. That is weird. That should not be happening. No one should be talking to children about sex and sex acts and how to perform it safely. There is no such thing as safe sex with someone who you're not married to. That is a very risky interaction between two people. That is not safe. What's your name?
I'm Gabby.
Gabby. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Yes,
Caitlin.
nice to meet you.
I mean, I'm pretty aware of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Not good ways, but...
Not good ways. Oh,
yeah.
darn.
But you're out here asking for people that disagree with him, correct?
Well, people are coming because they're going to see Charlie Kirk, and so yeah. I mean, do you disagree with Charlie?
I mean, yeah,
blah,
I disagree
blah,
with
blah.
him. I would say on
Yeah.
mostly everything.
Yeah, you don't think there's something you can agree on?
Not a lot.
You should go up there and ask him. I bet there's more.
If I could get in there, there's a lot of people.
Is there?
Yeah, you have a bit of a smaller crowd.
I know. I'm not as popular. Yeah.
No hate, obviously. We all start.
There might be a little bit.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. It's okay. But basically,
I'm not worried
my
about
question
it.
is because you're asking people that disagree with him, and so a big part of his thing is that he thinks that like college is a scam, and that's why he goes to these colleges and bitches and moans about how college is a scam from someone who didn't really go to college. Dropped out of college. Yeah, kind of silly. So I would just say someone that I believe you're college educated, surprisingly, and so I would say that I would just wanted to ask how you feel about that, and like how you like, do you believe that your college is a scam, and like do you like understand like what he's saying, because I think that his opinions on that is just kind of stupid and like.
So it sounds like you really want to talk to Charlie, not me, but the line is too long, so you came down here to get what you can get out of talking to somebody that has a following online. So I don't mind being respectful to you, and so if you're gonna take shots and try to be rude, I'm not gonna talk to you.
Okay,
so, but you want to talk to, but if you want to talk to me, I mean, you came up to me, so I'm not gonna talk to you if you're gonna be rude. But I would say college it can be a scam. I don't really take much time in worrying about if college is a scam. If people want to go to college, they can. That's his thing. I think because he dropped out of college, maybe he feels really strongly about justifying why he dropped out of college. Maybe to say college is a scam is like a coping mechanism. I don't know, but that's on him. I don't.
Like, you say that like education in general does like make people like, it's like more like the Democrats are like spreading their like agenda through the schools and all that like kind of rhetoric.
It can happen. We see with DEI initiatives, it can happen. There are.
What do you think DEI means?
It's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or something.
Yeah, but
what
do you think that like means in schools? Like,
so I actually
DEI
talked to
schools,
somebody.
What does that mean?
So I actually talked to somebody who was in a DE and I, that's how he called it, department in his workplace, and he said it's elevating the voices that aren't heard enough. So women are benefiting from that because they might not have the skills or the confidence to stand up for themselves and ask for promotions and stuff like that. So it looks like a lot of things. It can
And
look.
that's bad?
I didn't say it was bad, did I?
But you say that like DEI is in schools like kind of
you
spreading.
asked me one question, and then you're trying to catch me on your camera there, trying to get me to say something else. But if you want to ask me one question, I would be happy to answer it first.
Okay.
So when you ask me something about Charlie, you're gonna have to ask Charlie what he thinks about certain things.
We can move on from that.
Yeah.
You could just talk about.
So
I want to know what you believe.
So you think your first question was. Your first question was what?
We can move on from the college is a scam thing, because like you said, that's a Charlie question, not a you question.
Yeah.
But I just want to know what your opinion on like,
if you think that
spreading that sort of like liberal, like kind of like gay propaganda into the schools.
So I think with departments that specifically have a DEI initiative, it can happen because they want to go out and they want to empower people and find people that are, within the transgender community or the LGBTQ community. I know personally when I went to college, a ton of things were propped up. They had a orientation specifically only for brown people, brown students. So they propped them up and it wasn't allowed for white people to come in. They had special resources for brown and black people. And I think when you invite people into those spaces, it might seem like a good thing, but you get these brown and black students in there and they're left to be told, yeah, you need something separate. You can't actually function here in something that everybody has. You need something separate. So we're going to hold your hand extra because you're black and brown. And then they get this victim mentality and they kind of have like oh oh no, the white people are suppressing me. I need something special on campus. I don't agree with that. I don't know what Kent State's doing now. I don't agree with that, but I also don't believe that students are super dumb. So I think students can think for themselves. They can eventually vote. I think they're smart enough, so I don't have as much of a bad feeling about college students as maybe other people do.
But just to like interject there on what you were saying about like those programs kind of like holding the hands of black and brown students, don't you think those programs were created with a purpose of like, because black and brown students were so disproportionately like not allowed to go to college and not allowed to learn certain things, and that those programs were put in place for a reason, that there was a historical reason why those programs were put there, and to kind of lift that and like kind of like balance those scales, because white students were so like having that advantage in schools for so long.
So when I went to college, because that's what we're specifically talking about, there was no one that was black and brown that was prohibited from going to college. They did not suffer from that. That is not something that was happening. Maybe generations past, we know that happened, but right then and there, no. I think black and brown students are just as capable as white students and can go through all the same orientation, and I don't think they should be told that they need someone to hold their hand because of their skin color. They're capable, they're smart, they're bright, they're strong, they can do it, and I don't think there's any need to have separate things. Student clubs, sure. If you want to have a student club with like-minded people or people that you share cultural things with, that's fine. But to have an endorsed separate orientation that's through the university, I think it's actually quite rude to the black and brown students.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just because, like, even though, like you said, like the black and brown students are not being prohibited from doing anything, that doesn't mean that there's not anybody there that would probably want them to not be included in things or probably feels that certain way. So I think that they're made there for like to have safeguards for minority students that have been disadvantaged by those like groups and people and stuff like that. And so I think that there's still a purpose for them regardless of how it makes you feel about it, I guess.
Yeah, that's totally fine if you disagree. That's totally fine.
But with the whole like pushing like those agendas in schools, I just think that like I know you haven't been to school in a while, and so a lot of the times, like, well, not necessarily calling you old, but just saying that, like, you haven't been to school in a bit, and so I think a lot of, like, not necessarily just you, but a lot of, like, people that have those similar opinions to you would, like to say that, like, schools are trying to, like, make kids gay, like, actively in the classroom and, like, giving kids sex operations in class. We hear Trump talk about it all the time.
Yeah, well, we know sex operations aren't happening in the classroom. We have found instances of high school teachers. This is not a phenomenon that's happening widespread or anything, but there was just a report out, I forget which high school it was, that there was a high school teacher that was counseling a student, and they were talking about transitioning her gender and doing all this stuff behind her parents' back. That teacher was placed on leave 2 years later, and something like that is troublesome. That's troublesome. I don't think there's any place in a high school for things about sexuality at all.
So you
that's
agree,
something.
Like, with Florida's like kind of don't say gay policies.
So that's not what it says. That never says don't say gay. It's a Parents' Right and Education Act is what it is. So they never say don't say gay. I do agree with that. I think that that's something between a parent and a child that should be talked about, because that is something very serious. It's very serious for a child to engage in their thoughts and in the conversations. Super important that it's be held with their parent or their legal guardian. It has no place for a stranger. Teachers, you're supposed to trust them, but at the end of the day, they're strangers, and I don't think that children should be talking about sex or confusion about identity and who they might be with strangers.
Schools are a place to learn, and if kids don't feel safe speaking with their parents about that, don't you think that those students deserve a safe place to be able to communicate those thoughts and maybe kind of work that out and get that sort of support that they need?
So yes, they can go there to the teacher or the counselor, whatever it is, and say, I'm feeling this way, and the conversation ends there, and it gets referred to the parent, and that's who can decide how they talk to about that topic with their child. If someone ever came up,
like kids, like the way I'm saying, there's people with abusive parents, and if like they were to report that to their parents, then that's just endangering kids unnecessarily, I fear.
That could happen. I'm not saying that can't happen, but most of the time, I don't think that that's what happened. I think that child is probably lacking in some type of attention from home. Maybe they're not receiving exactly the attention that they want at home or something like that, and they're seeing their friends do all this stuff. It's really confusing time to be in high school, especially for young women. Young women suffer from gender confusion more than men do. We have a lot going on. as ladies growing up. So it's really important that the parents have control in how they talk to their children. It's no one else's business. Your guidance counselor could be the most caring person ever and could really help someone, but at the end of the day, that is not their business to engage in that type of talk with a child, because that parent knows that child. And more often than not, I would trust the parent more than I would trust a guidance counselor on that topic.
I think I'm a little biased. Like, I think I had a lot of teachers in high school that I would say that I kind of had felt more comfortable with than I felt my parents. And I think if they were required to report that to my parents, I think that would have put me in a really bad situation. And
How so?
Not to get too much into it and everything like that, but I would say that my house wasn't a safe place to kind of share those ideas and everything like that, and that would have put me in very serious kind of danger like that.
When you say danger, you mean physical danger? You would have been abused?
Basically, yeah. But I would just say that if that kind of safe place in school would be taken away from me, I think I would have ended up a lot actually worse than I am now. And I'm not transgender and I'm not all of that. And so I think that I didn't, just because I was speaking to my teachers about certain things, I don't think that my teachers were out there being you should just be gay and trans and do all of that stuff. And I was yeah, sure, okay. And that didn't happen.
Luckily, it didn't happen. What I would say is if you were in danger in any type of physical way, even mentally or emotionally, because those are legitimate forms of abuse as well, that's what should have been told to the guidance counselor. I'm feeling this type of way and I'm scared I'm going to get hurt because of it. Not, I'm feeling this type of way, please don't tell my parents because they might not want me to be a boy or they might not want me to be gay, and I'm scared that they're going to yell at me.
Making those rules doesn't really have that sort of assessment, and not all of the time that's the best way to go about it. And so I think just allowing kids to feel safe at school, I feel we shouldn't be taking that away from them.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying, for sure, especially with your experience. I will never change my mind, especially as a mother to 2 children, that anybody else besides me and whoever I consent to talking to my children about those topics, I will never support that. That is something that should never be talked about with children, especially minors, without the parents knowing. If the parent says, yeah, sure, guidance counselor, talk to my kid about being gay or something, go for it. But there's consent. Parents deserve consent and rights.
But most of the time, if the kids don't feel safe with their parents, the parents aren't going to consent to them talking to somebody else.
There's probably a reason, because they that's a sign, that's a red flag to most parents that something's wrong, and we need to reevaluate, and we maybe need to spend more time with our children, and we need to see what they need from us. That's a red flag to the parents. What is going wrong? Why is your child feeling this way? Why are they confused? Why do they need to talk to somebody that's not you? And that's the biggest problem here, is that children don't feel comfortable with their parents.
And I agree with that. That's my point.
So I mean, unfortunately, as uncomfortable as they could be, no one has the right to talk about sexuality or anything along those lines without a parent's consent to a minor, and that's kind of where I draw it.
With the whole bill in Florida and everything like that, don't you think that it kind of goes past that though, with not allowing teachers to say even certain words about their own sexuality and stuff like that? Don't you think that kind of is teachers are allowed to should be allowed, I think, to just say, this is my life and this is who I am?
Nope. It has nothing to do with the classroom. No, it doesn't matter. So if a teacher identifies as a they, them, or has rainbow flags or whatever, has nothing to do in the classroom. That is not a topic that should be talked about in the classroom. If that is something that the child is curious about, they can go back to the parent and ask, and they can figure that out on their own. But a teacher is there. I don't think public schools are the best anyway. I will not be sending my children to public schools. So
are there more reasons why you would not like the public school system?
Because strangers around children. Actually, I don't want the other children there influencing my child in ways that I don't support. I'm Catholic. I want to raise my children. Yeah, exactly. So faith comes first in our household, and so there's things that kids can be exposed to from other kids anywhere, but public school specifically, because we're talking about it, and I want to make sure I know what my children are being exposed to, and when they are exposed to it, because they will be, no matter what, I can't stop that it's talked to them about in a way that makes sense, that is a way that's faith oriented, and that they can process at the age level that they are. Yeah.
Do you not agree that exposing your kid to all different types of people and a very diverse environment, don't you think that could be beneficial to them to hear other people's opinions and be able to hear their own explanation of it and not just your kind of faith-centered explanation of it?
No. Nope. How I want to raise my children is my prerogative. No one has a right to share their opinions with my child, and so I will raise my children the best ability that I can, and I will explain what other people are trying to say in the lens that I want them to be able to understand it. No one will be able to understand my child like me, and no one will be able to talk to my child and help them grasp these really hard concepts at such a young age like I can. I am in no business in dehumanizing people to my children. I love them and I love everybody, and that's why I'm pro-life, anti-abortion more specifically, but they need to have a good foundation and trust from their mother that I'm going to help them along these difficult topics along their life, and I want them to come to me and trust me. And so, yeah, no one has the right to tell their opinions to my child.
I mean, like I said, I don't think I'm going to change your opinion on it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
not.
kind of just like hear more like in depth about how you specifically like feel about that. But I apologize
nice.
for insulting you. I
No,
guess,
that's okay. I'm used to it.
Yeah,
it was
no,
nice
I'm
talking
sorry.
to you,
It was
Gabby.
nice talking to you. Thank
Like your
you.
hair, fell
Thank
curly
you.
girl.
Can we get a photo?
Oh yeah, wait, can I get a photo real quick?
Yes.
Wait, yeah.
Why does she want to?
We got it.
You want to raise your kids in your own like prerogative and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like, which is obviously this is your choice, whatever. But if you raise them in all the ways that you plan on raising them and everything like that, but they still end up, let's say, like they end up transgender still or gay or like part of the community.
The flag
Exactly.
outside of my home. Yeah.
So how would you react to that? Because I mean, you went through every best effort to keep them away from it. So how would you kind of go about that situation?
A lot of prayer.
Okay.
A lot of prayer on how to talk to them, to make sure they know that I love them no matter what, and a lot of prayer of how to come about this from something that they would understand.
Okay.
So obviously, and they would be confused about a lot of things, and I think they would maybe think that I, disagree with them as a person if they believe these things. And so hopefully I do a good job as a mom, and I can give them guidance and advice through their life about these different types of people that they're going to encounter, people in lifestyles that I don't agree with, but hopefully I do a good job in raising them to let them know that we love everybody. God loves everybody. That person was created in his image and he's supposed to be here no matter if he thinks he's a woman, no matter if he's raised a rainbow flag or wearing a crop top and a booty shorts out here in the public. So hopefully that never happens, but if it does, it would be a lot of prayer, and I don't have an answer because my oldest child is not even 3 yet. Hopefully a lot of intercession from our Blessed Mother on that one, if it ever came to that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Florida's the #1 state right now. It's like a toss-up between Florida and Texas, but it's usually Florida for #1 state that like bans books and like usually like limit voices that I see. Like a lot of times it's like people talking about like even like Fahrenheit 451, like 1984, like all these books that like I feel like are very anti what we see in the government a lot. So I just want to know how you feel about that and how it extends to the college education.
So I think what you're referring to is what people say, the Don't Say Gay bill and the Parental Rights and Education bill, and there's that. I think that's what you're referring to.
Kind of, but they've also like kind of extended that, and they've banned more. They're not just banned; they've also like removed books for like review in Florida.
So they have a list of books that they remove from publicly funded buildings.
Yeah.
And specifically public schools up into like a certain age or a grade or whatever it is, but it should be banned for the entire school. Maybe it is. I fully support banning books from public schools and publicly funded places that talk about porn, gay sex, abortion, and stuff like that. So I fully support banning books for children's access like that. They're not banned in this state. You can get any book you want in this state or whatever. It's just public schools that they're not allowed in.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean, I don't go here. I go to UCF, it's like down there.
Yeah.
But I see in Florida, because they're getting rid of the Department of Education. So I see in Florida, there's in the public school system specifically, it's very easy to like come to Florida and like get fully funded. But I think the drawback of that is that, and even in our collegiate classes, I've been seeing the same kind of agenda. Like I've been seeing like people taking away classes talking about like like marginalized communities and like different parts of history. I'm a history student, so I'm kind of watching like this censorship and like they're saying this happened, but I know it didn't happen, and.
So who's getting rid of these? So who's getting rid of these things? Like at a university, if they got rid of a minority basket weaving class, is that a criticism of the university or the government?
I think that when it comes to like something like UCF, which is a publicly funded institution that gets most of its, I mean, a lot of people there are on scholarship as well. Right. I'm on scholarship, I'm fully funded. So basically the school is paying me to go to this school. I mean, the state is paying, good for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that comes with the privilege of, I feel, having kind of a say in what is taught at that school, those schools. I'm transferring. I tried to transfer to unrelated, but I feel like it still extends into like the just collegiate, the same like kind of, because the same people who are banning books are the people who are talking about removing these kinds of, like the people in the government, Ron DeSantis specifically. Ron DeSantis has been a very like big champion of like, well, I see as censorship a little bit.
So I think censorship can be good. I think children should be censored by certain material that are explicitly sexual and very confusing for minors to read and digest. One of the books, I actually have an example on my phone, is a comic of people talking about how to perform gay sex on one another. That's an example of one of the books that he says cannot be in public schools and cannot be part of the teaching curriculum, and teachers cannot have in their little library there in the classroom. I fully support that. I don't think that all censorship is bad. I think censorship can be very good and necessary, and that's an example.
I understand what you're saying with that, honestly.
Yeah.
I just think that when it extends, I mean, I think that gay sex and like gay, that's just still something that's talked about. Because I feel like we, like those kids are still, because we have like back in like 6th grade, we're exposed to like, this is how you have safe sex, right?
That shouldn't be in sex at all should not be taught in public schools. So I believe in censorship for that as well. No, I think that's something a parent and a child has the right to talk about and learn about and teach through that way, not through a public school teacher and not in a classroom with other peers that are being very confused with this information.
What if the child doesn't have access to a supportive parent? Or a parent that just a parent like you're talking about earlier, abortion, and just you weren't like jumping to adoption. But let's say a kid's in an adoption center and they're not being taught those very important. I feel very, 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 very important, because like, I mean, if we don't want to have abortions, we should probably be practicing safe sex, right?
Well, you would think so, but the abortion rates have gone up since the sexual revolution in the, I think it was the 1970s. Abortion rates have actually gone up because when you promote birth control and promiscuous sex, and it's just casual and it has no meaning, and don't do it, primarily with the person who is committed to you through the act of marriage under the eyes of God, you end up with unplanned pregnancies. Birth control isn't 100%, and it doesn't always work, and so that leads to more women facing unplanned pregnancies when we promote this stuff onto them, and then you end up with more abortions, unfortunately.
But at the same time, like I feel like we should still be talking about how to have safe sex.
You can do that, parent the child, not public school teacher to a classroom of 30 students. That is weird. That should not be happening. No one should be talking to children about sex and sex acts and how to perform it safely. There is no such thing as safe sex with someone who you're not married to. That is a very risky interaction between two people. That is not safe. That's very risky. And so I think it's important that those conversations are saved for the parent. You're infringing on a parent's right when you start diving into really religious topics. It's not just biological or cultural or what a parent thinks is acceptable. That infringes then on the parent's religious right on how they want to raise their child. And so I'll let you respond, and I'm going to end there, because speaking of children, I have babies to get back to.
I can't change your mind, but one more thing. So what you're saying, you don't think that these people are going to find out themselves either? Like, because I feel like a lot of times kids are going to be. I mean, I was an experimental child. That's very inappropriate, but you know what I mean. But it's because I didn't get the education that I needed. I feel. Okay. I feel like people should be getting the education that they need at the public level. I know I'm not going to change your mind, but thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. Problem. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to shaking a lot of hands. I don't want to spread any germs. What was your name?
Andy.
Andy, it was nice talking to you. My name is Kate.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I do a selfie?
Sure, yes. Things were pretty peaceful today, but I still brought security with me. Go to patreon.com/Kaitlin Bennett. Even $5 a month helps me pay for security out here and pay the babysitter that has my children that I miss so much. If it's more convenient for you, you can leave a super thanks right down below while you're watching this video, and that helps support my work as well. Thanks.